Hey guys, yes, it is me, NCHammer23. Nick, what's going on with the mask? Great question. I recently got a surgery, and that surgery happened to be on my head. And let's just say I don't look my best. Fortunately, this kind of thing is gonna heal up relatively quickly, so I'll be done with the whole mask thing in like, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks. But for the meanwhile, you get to look at this relatively sick kitsune mask, and I get to smell cheap plastic shoved into my nose. Honestly, considering the fact I might quite literally be the only anime YouTuber who shows their actual face, this makes me feel much more accepted by the community. And trust me, none of you are more confused than my dog is. So with no further ado, let's get to talking about what today's video is about. Because it's something we've been meaning to talk about for a while, and something that is very highly requested. It's one of the most confusing points in Naruto, even though it's actually never directly addressed in Naruto. The topic of today's video is the Hidden Rain Village, but more specific than just the history of the Hidden Rain Village, we'll do that at some point. Today we're talking about why was the Hidden Rain Village so advanced? Why was the Hidden Rain Village built out of skyscrapers in metal when Konoha is built out of wood in basically mud? Hell, in the Sand Village, they're basically living in sand igloos. How did the Hidden Rain get this level of technological advancement? And while there is no concrete answer, there's a couple of theories that I subscribe to. But before we get into any of those theories, guys, please, for me, like this video, subscribe to the page, and hit that noti bell. And while you're at it, if you guys are looking for more NCHammer23 Masked Edition content, we got a different page called NCGamer23, where instead of talking anime, I play video games. The Hidden Rain Village, one of the poorest and most disenfranchised nations in the history of Naruto, living the unfortunate existence of existing between 3 major ninja villages that don't like each other very much in the stone, the leaf, and the sand. So how on earth does this historically disenfranchised and poor nation have what is arguably the most technologically advanced capital city we've seen in any place in Naruto? I mean, the Hidden Rain looks like a modern city, not a fun modern city, but a modern city nonetheless, with thousands of feet tall skyscrapers, bustling cityscapes, and neon signs. But what if there's more to the Hidden Rain Village than meets the eye? What if the Hidden Rain was always a technological capital of the Naruto verse? What if our lack of information and the fact that the Hidden Rain was an isolationist nation never allowed us to see behind the curtain of what was the most technologically advanced country in Naruto? And here's the thing, there's a couple of things that point to that being reality. Now, I've spoken on the fact that the Hidden Rain science team must have been incredibly well versed and educated. In my video, The Real Reason Jiraiya Wasn't Reincarnated, I spoke on the theory that possibly Amado lived in the Hidden Rain before he was with Kara. Amado being the central member of Kara, who essentially makes all of the people in Kara. But long before Amado, the Hidden Rain pulled off something that even Orochimaru would struggle with. You see, the Hidden Rain was able to extract the poison gland from the black salamander that lived in their river. This black salamander was known for the lethality of its poison, and therefore scientists in the Hidden Rain wanted to find a way to extract it and put it in humans. Essentially, they assumed if they could take this black poison sac, put it in a human, and allow them to create their own poison, that person would be an incredibly potent fighter. And here's the thing, they're absolutely right. Having a human that can make their own poison to poison people on the battlefield is incredibly powerful. I mean, Granny Chiu is essentially the walking version of that without the science project. And she killed thousands of people. She kept an entire village relevant for decades. So the scientists in the Hidden Rain extracted that poison sac and put it in Hanzo, the salamander. And here's the thing, they did it first try. They were able to extract the poison gland from a salamander, put it in a human so successfully that human can make their own poison. First try. It took Orochimaru 72 children to get Yamato. Mind you, Madara was able to put the Hashirama cell on himself. So could some poor backwater country pull off this scientific feat? I don't think so. Especially when you consider the fact that Konoha most likely couldn't have pulled off this feat, and Konoha has been dedicated to the advancement of science since Tobirama. But here's the thing though, we only ever see the Hidden Rain like in its entirety as a cityscape once Nagato enters the fold. And while obviously the fact that they were able to pull off this surgery on Hanzo points in the direction of technological advancement, we don't know if it was this sprawling cityscape filled with skyscrapers before Nagato. Truly, the only images we get of the Hidden Rain prior to Nagato's existence was Hanzo versus the legendary Sannin, where they're kind of just standing in an open field, and therefore we don't see see any cityscape. And then when Jiraiya meets the Ame orphans after the conclusion of the Second Great Shinobi World War, which is amongst a bunch of rubble that's outside of the village. So once again, no cityscape. Behind the scenes moment, I will frequently just be interrupted by my dog to play tug of war. But just for the sake of argument, let's say that the village hidden in the rain was technologically advanced before Nagato became the leader, and that it was even technologically advanced before Hanzo became the leader, because it had to be a certain level of technologically advanced in order for them to pull off that surgery. There's a couple of reasons as to why it would be technologically advanced. Here's the thing about a city hidden in rain. It's constantly raining. Like, we've never seen it not raining in the village hidden in the rain. And what's kind of counterintuitive about constant rain is you would assume, oh my god, it must be so easy to grow food there. I mean, plants need water, right? And you're right, congratulations, you passed biology in 5th grade, you know plants need water. But too much water for plants is an issue. So a place where it rains almost every single day would be almost impossible to grow crops in, meaning that if you wanted to live there, farming and ranching wouldn't be the things you could rely on. You know what else you couldn't rely on? Shoddy buildings. Let's say you made houses the way that the Hidden Sand did and kind of just made sand igloos. That's not gonna work somewhere it rains every day. Your igloo would erode and eventually you would need a new igloo. And sure, you could build your house out of wood, that would work, I guess, but eventually that would also deteriorate. The only kind of buildings that would reliably stand up against constant rain would be metal or concrete. And just like that, with the hidden rain, we have now identified that you need to build your finances up using something that's non-traditional, i.e. not being able to farm or ranch, and you need modern technology for buildings. So because the hidden rain couldn't rely on simple things like agriculture, they had to focus on things like technology. I mean, look at Hanzo. Actually, look at most people from the hidden rain. They all have rebreathers. Rebreathers essentially scrub the oxygen around you to make it breathable for you, and are incredibly complicated scientifically. The fact that all of them had rebreathers once again kind of points in the scientific direction. So if we follow that line of logic all the way up to the time of Hanzo's rule, there's a couple more points that make this theory seem even more sensible. You see, the hidden rain had always been isolationist, but mostly when Hanzo was the leader. Hanzo was dedicated to finding a way for the hidden rain to live in peace, at least for the first part of his rule. Hanzo was born in the hidden rain village, and he loved the hidden rain village, and he wanted it to be safe from all of the major nations around them. Because of the fact that the major nations were often stepping on the hidden rain, they were isolationist. There was deep-seated hate in the hidden rain's heart for the major ninja villages around them. But just being isolationist wasn't enough. You see, you can close your doors and hope nobody comes through them, but unfortunately, when the people outside got really big battering rams, they're gonna make it through. So Hanzo took protecting his village one step further in a direction that a lot of dictators actually go. You see, Hanzo forced the hidden rain into an era of industrialization. This is very similar to what Stalin did in Russia in the 30s. Essentially, in order to show strength to the outside world, you decide to measure it in terms of how far you can industrialize. Essentially, Hanzo gleaned that if people saw how industrialized and advanced the hidden rain was, nobody would dare step to them. They were a small nation with powerful shinobi who specialize in genjutsu, but not enough of them to impose an actual threat to any of the major villages around them. So in order to keep those major villages away, they had to be different, very different. On top of this, the hidden rain is not a big nation. I mean, landmass wise. And they are directly in the middle of the continent. Over the millennia that this continent in the ninja world has existed, many people have settled in the hidden rain. And now that they're surrounded by major ninja villages, they can't move to those other villages. So this relatively small country has a very large population. And I don't know if you guys have ever been to or seen New York, but large population plus small area means building up, not out. Which would also explain skyscrapers. I mean, people gotta live somewhere, especially when it's literally always raining. And lastly, being an isolationist country is not easy. In fact, there's basically basically no country on Earth that does it. The closest country we have on Earth to being a isolationist country is North Korea. But North Korea gets a lot of the things that they can't grow or make on their own from China. And those are a lot of things. And still, North Korea is far from thriving. Human nature requires that you rely on others, especially in a modern civilization. Some things just don't grow or can be made in the place where you stay. So by being an isolationist country, they need to fulfill all their needs internally, which would mean that for the Hidden Rain, things like science, medicine, clothing, transportation, buildings, all of that would have to be figured out within the country. And this dedication to staying alive as a country drove them to technological advancement of the level that we see. What if the Hidden Rain wasn't technologically advanced until Nagato came around? Because once again, I will reiterate, the only times we ever saw the cityscape of the Hidden Rain with the sprawling buildings and all of that is when Nagato was in charge. What if it wasn't Hanzo and Amado and all the people that came before Nagato and it was just Nagato? Well, here's the thing, this theory has about as much leg to stand on as the previous one. There's actual canon lore backing up this theory. You see, war is profitable, especially when that war is being run by a group, a very small group, mind you, that is able to overturn entire countries by themselves and then bring back the loot of that country to the place they live. Of course, I'm talking about the Akatsuki, and not even the Akatsuki that you might be thinking, you know, Kisame, Nagato, Konan, all them. No, I'm talking about the roots of the Akatsuki. I'm talking about the Akatsuki before their goal was to get the tailed beasts, and I guess the Akatsuki after as well. You see, when Nagato, Yahiko, and Konan started the Akatsuki, they very quickly grew a following. And this following had a lot of power, so much power they intimidated Hanzo, and Danzo for that matter, so much so that Danzo made Hanzo kill them. But the Akatsuki were running missions, high-level S-ranked missions. They were winning battles against bigger enemy forces on the back of Nagato, Yahiko, and Konan. And all of that money was pumping back into the Hidden Rain. People were coming from outside of the Hidden Rain to collaborate with the Akatsuki. Believe it or not, but the Akatsuki were good for the economy. And then there's the fact that the majority of the Hidden Rain was destroyed in the Second Great Shinobi World War. Obviously, that's not great. Nobody wants their village to be destroyed. But when you combine the fact that most of the village had been destroyed and therefore there was a fresh sheet to build on, and the fact that there was more money being pumped in with the Akatsuki into the Hidden Rain, the fact that they could have industrialized and built a new city isn't crazy. The Akatsuki essentially operated like a large business, moving to a smaller town in the US, let's say. Let's say Apple decided to open its headquarters in some small western Texas town. That town would see a massive influx of people because people would go to work for Apple and all of that, which would boost the economy. But here's the thing, the Akatsuki are doing something for that town that Apple sure as shit wouldn't. The Akatsuki are reinvesting that wealth because the Akatsuki really only want peace for the Hidden Rain. I mean, they want world peace, obviously, but you have to start with the Hidden Rain. And nobody's gonna want peace in a place you don't want to live. So they're building skyscrapers for people to live in. So they're making medical advancements. So they're making technological advancements, all to further the goal of peace.
But Nick, that still wouldn't explain how they learned how to make skyscrapers and all of that.
Well, give me a second. So we all know Nagato has the Rinnegan, right? And with the Rinnegan, you get 6 paths. You get more than that, but we'll just talk about the 6 paths for the moment. And one of those paths is called the Ashura path. Now, the Ashura path is very interesting, arguably the most interesting to me. It's the most interesting to me because it makes the least sense. All the other paths, you know, you pull up a king of hell, or you can push people or pull people, or you can pull souls out of the bodies. I guess that all makes sense for a ninja. So what does the Ashura path do? Well, it allows you to mechanize your body. What? Why? Essentially, the Ashura path allows you to turn your body into metal, and then you can turn your arms into blades or a rocket launcher. You can give yourself a tail. But let's focus on that thing I said a second ago. You can turn your arm into a rocket launcher. This is something I don't think gets talked about enough. Nagato had missiles, like rocket propelled missiles that he fired from his arm, and it was a Rinnegan ability. But essentially this is saying that Nagato can use his Rinnegan to turn organic material into metal, like modern technology metal. We also know Nagato can use his abilities on things that aren't his own body. That's how he made the 6 paths of pain. So even if you don't believe they could have built all those skyscrapers and all that neon and all of that, I propose to you ninja bullshit. What if Nagato simply used the Asura path on the existing buildings in the Hidden Rain to grow them into gargantuan statues, to give them metal exteriors, to modernize all of them? And what's wild is this theory is technically corroborated. I mean, in the Hidden Rain, on one of the tallest skyscrapers, there is literally a metal statue emerging from the wall. And this metal statue has its hand out, a pipe in its hand, its tongue coming out, and eyes. And outside of the fact that this statue looks cyberpunk as all hell, its eyes are Rinnegans. And this statue has pipes feeding out of the back of its head into the building behind it. What if this statue isn't a statue at all? What if this statue is actually a summoning? Because I'll remind you that all of Nagato's summons have Rinnegan. And this summoning is a combination of the Ashura path and the animal path that incorporated itself into the village in order to grow it into a mechanized, industrial, modern city. And that is why Nagato is always sitting on it, because that is the true central point of the village, the literal beating heart. But whether or not you subscribe to the theory that this summoning is a mechanized god that's able to create a village out of metal, or the fact that Nagato just brought a bunch of money into the village by running the Akatsuki out of there, both of these theories make Nagato central, and more than Nagato, the Akatsuki central to the growth and the modernization of the Hidden Rain. Well, that point is actually corroborated by Shikamaru Shinden. Shikamaru Shinden is a light novel about Shikamaru that takes place 4 years after the Fourth Great Shinobi World Wars ended. And a lot happens in Shikamaru Shinden. I highly recommend you read it. It is very important for understanding Naruto as a whole. But one semi-minor plot point that happens in Shikamaru Shinden is that Ame, aka the Hidden Rain, is invited to join the Shinobi Union. The Shinobi Union being the kind of ninja UN that exists now that they're in peacetime. But now that the Akatsuki is no longer in the Hidden Rain, Ame is a mess. We're talking 4 years after the Fourth Great Shinobi World War here, so a significant amount of time, and yet the debris in the destruction caused by Jiraiya's fight against Pain hasn't been cleaned up or repaired. In fact, we see in Boruto that by the time Naruto is Hokage, the Hidden Rain is all but abandoned. Like, the Hidden Rain existed before the Akatsuki, and yet the disappearance of the Akatsuki from the Hidden Rain destroyed the village. Whether or not the village died because Nagato died and therefore his summoning that was controlling all of the buildings crumbled, or that the economy just crumbled now that money wasn't getting pumped in via the Akatsuki, the village was dying without Nagato. I mean, the village is so abandoned, Kara is using it as their hideout. You see, the Akatsuki were able to use the Hidden Rain as their hideout, 1, because they were very powerful, but 2, because they started there. It was their home. Kara is using it as her hideout because it is now a dystopian hellscape that is very easy to hide in. But whatever the reason for the Hidden Rain's advancement, it now stands as a very testament to what Naruto is about. What do I mean by that? The Hidden Rain bet on itself, and only itself, for the entirety of its history. Hanzo fought off almost every single major village by himself. And instead of using that successful victory over all the major villages to put himself in the world geopolitics of the Naruto world, decided to shut the doors on his country. He feared that some other nation would take his power if he ever let them in again. He shut off everybody around him, focusing to rely on only his power. And I mean, hey, it got him through the Second Great Shinobi World War, so why shouldn't he? So if Hanzo could rely on only his power, his village should be able to only rely on their own. But because of this, Hanzo and the Hidden Rain would share a fate. Hanzo's lack of willingness to rely on those around him is why he was cut down by Pain. You see, Nagato wanted to work with Hanzo, but Hanzo was afraid of Nagato's power. Other villages could have benefited from what the Hidden Rain knew, and yet the Hidden Rain closed them out. You see, Naruto at its central core is about relying on others. No person is strong enough to make it through the entirety of life by themselves. Humans are pack animals. The irony of the Hidden Rain is that it was only successful as a village when there was a group living within inside of it. And once that group disappeared, it was once again the isolationist colony it had always been. And now it stands as a desolate testament to the central core, the most important point in Naruto. Rely on those around you, because once you close off to the world, it closes right back off to you. And that's it, guys. Those are all the theories about why the Hidden Rain is so technologically advanced. I hope you liked this video, and if you did, guys, please, for me, like the video, subscribe to the page, and hit that noti bell. And hey, guys, I'm gonna be doing a video about what's under this mask in the trip I just took to Europe, so if you wanna see what's under this mask, guys, go ahead and hit that join button, because that video is going to be a members only exclusive. Listen, I don't have like a degree in political science or anything like that, but you're the village hidden in the rain, right? But you do share a border with the desert village, aka the village hidden in the sand. They need water, right? So why don't you just bottle up some of that rain you got, sell it to the desert people, and then infinite money. I don't get how we're not doing that.